each year it's interesting to see which tomatoes do well and which don't, and I've learned from experience that what does well this year may not do well next year depending on the weather, but I thought I'd share with you the ones I'm really liking this year so far. There's a couple of them that kind of stand out. And the first one is Lucid Gem. It's hard to get a good angle here, but pretty good cluster of tomatoes down here at the bottom. They got that dark shoulder. And one thing I like about it is it's not prone to have a whole lot of foliage. I kind of like that. Don't have to prune as much that way. And it's setting on well. Here's the second cluster of blooms. It's got some up above that. And then there's some almost to the top of the cage. And it's already grown out of the top of the 5-foot cage and still has some blooms. And we have another Lucid Gem down on the other end, and it's also out of the top of the cage and also setting on well. So far I really like it. Let me show you that. I'm going to walk around the other side. A cluster of blooms about 3/4 of the way up the cage. And there's more setting on above that, and then it's out of the top here. But if this tastes good at all, I'm sold on it. It really has done well for me so far this year. I don't anticipate that that'll change. Now let's look at the carbon. I think this one might be the first one I get to try. That one down at the bottom there. It's almost touching the ground. Let me walk around on the other side. This one doesn't grow as tall as the Lucid Gem, but it seems to be setting on really well. I like that. And we've got blooms or tomatoes setting on about halfway up the cage, which is pretty good for July here. Let's go look at the other carbon. Get way over here to get a good angle on those, but there's a whole bunch of them set on down towards the bottom. Now I'll get over there a little closer and we'll take a better look at them. Look at the size of it so far. And it's got at least a dozen tomatoes that have already set on, and it's probably only about halfway up the cage though. It's got a couple setting on a little higher. But if these taste as good as they say they do, a dozen would be fine with me. It's a lot stockier than the Lucid Gems, but it's supposed to be a real good, dark, flavorful tomato. And I'm really liking the way it's done so far. And if I had to pick a number 3, it would probably be the Solar Flare. It's a decent sized tomato, not huge, but decent sized. Of course, a lot will depend on what these taste like. If they taste good at all and they produce in our area. Of course, this has been a fairly mild year. Like I mentioned, each year is different. But this one has tomatoes that have set on about 3/4 of the way up. But those 3 so far, I'm liking what I see. Just wanted to share that, and I'm sure we'll be doing some taste tests in the next week or 2. This one over here is getting a hint of color on it already, so it won't be long.